So let's get back to the story we were covering at the top of the hour. The release of the Fed's Beige book, that regional survey of nationwide economic conditions. And joining us on the phone is the former Fed economist, Mann. She's now an economics professor at Brandeis University. Professor Mann, welcome back to Bottom Line. Pleasure to have you on.
Hi there. Good to be with you, at least vocally.
Thanks so much. Talk to us about the release of the Beige book. What highlights did you take away?
Well, the highlight that I took away that I think is most important, especially in light of the labor market data that came out last Friday, is that most of the districts are reporting that the labor market is as robust as it was in the previous Beige book. And so that suggests that there's a little bit of a cross-current in the data on what is happening to the labor market. Of course, what we'd like to see is a continued strength in the labor market across all of the districts. And, you know, that's kind of what the Beige book said. Not super strong, of course, but as strong as it was in previous Beige books. So I think that's a very important piece of information to take away from the Beige book.
Professor Mann, it's interesting, though, because obviously that Beige book is highlighting what the regional banks are seeing. But then just yesterday, we have that JOLT survey from the Labor Department, and it did not paint a pretty picture of what's going on in the job market.
Well, I think what we're seeing is you know, we're getting a lot of different pieces of information. All of them are high frequency in the sense that we're getting weekly data or monthly data, and we're getting it from different sources. For example, the Institute of Supply Management also showed that their labor market component, the employment component of the non-manufacturing index, was continuing to be strong. In fact, it ticked up from the April number. So, you know, one piece of number is somewhat more positive. Other numbers are a little bit more negative. I think that, you know, we're seeing the labor market data is the most important piece of the puzzle right now with respect to the U.S. economy. And, right. You know, we're not seeing a consistent story. But I think we're seeing some positive information, even as some of the other information is less positive.
And Professor Mann, probably, I guess, one of the areas that continues to be most troubling, even disturbing for a lot of people, is the housing market. The Fed saying that real estate, quoting here, continued to show widespread weakness and that construction activity has remained very subdued. How does that tie into the overall labor picture?
Well, you know, the construction aspect has been weak all along. So I don't think it's any weaker than it has been before, but it continues to be a drag on the overall labor market situation. But it doesn't explain the data that we've observed in the last couple of releases, because, you know, construction hasn't recovered, but then it hasn't really gotten any worse. So, you know, it would be nice to see the labor market, the housing market, you know, improve. Obviously, that's an important component of the overall state of the recovery. But I don't think that's a key ingredient to the most recent labor market data.
Mann, she's a former Fed economist, now a professor of economics at Brandeis, joining us on the phone from Waltham, Mass. Professor, thanks so much. We appreciate your time.